Hey guys, it's Rob from Team DBC Biscuit again. I'm back, and Happy New Year to all. Hope your holidays were good. And I'm back with a remade version of my Gren Maju OTK deck. It's still a lot of fun, and it's got a lot of different little quirks to it. I found things that made it more what's the preferred term, consistent. It's much more consistent. I know the opponents of the deck don't want to hear that, but to be honest, it is a lot more consistent this way, so let's get into it. Gren Maju Da Eiza, the rock star of the deck, obviously. You know, with its underplaying cast members, it's just really great. It's a really great card. Bonus for 400 attack for every card removed from play. And like I said before, it doesn't matter if it's upside down, sideways, you know, backwards, forwards, inside out. It doesn't matter. As long as it's banished, it gets the 400 boost. That is followed up by the limited to 2 Necro phase. Probably will never see it back at 3 because it's just really too ridiculous. Of course, we know with him first effect, if he gets banished, you banish 5 off the top. Your opponent banishes 5 off the top. So if you do 2 of them, you're both banishing 10. His other effect is that if he is summoned, he will gain 100 attack for each monster, each banished card returned to the deck, and that is both you and your opponent. Say your opponent has 12, say you have 30, you are now dealing with a Necro phase that is 4200 plus 12, that's 5400 attack, which is a rather scary thing in today's game. You know, especially seeing he can't be stolen by because he's a special summon, he's a normal summon, he's ridiculous. Keeping with the theme of banishing, I have limited it down to 2. I believe it was 3 before Banisher of Radiance. Banisher of Radiance is a monster version of Macrocosmos. Everything gets banished. You know, cards don't go to the graveyard, period. End of story. You know, sometimes the deck doesn't want to work right and you need a little bit of time. I run 2 Marshmelons. Can't be destroyed by battle. And on the first attack, someone attacks into him when he's face down, he goes up, he does 1,000 damage to your opponent, so nothing like losing life points, but staying safe with the monster. Another rock star of the deck, and he's really ridiculous, is the Eater of Millions, or as I call him, Eater of Minions. Eater of Millions, he is just really ridiculous. If you can't reject him, you can't dark hole him, or if you can't beat over him after the first attack. You know, talking about decks that do a secondary attack, will bring out a second monster. Eater of Millions is ridiculous because you can attack a face down card. Say it's a flip effect. Say somebody sets a morphing jar. Eater of Millions attacks into it, and it's automatically banished face down. It doesn't get its flip effect, so it's really useful in that way. A lot of cards can't get around his effect, and it's just really ridiculous. And on top of that, you know, he gains 100 attack for each face down card moved. So if you banish something, he gains for that one. If you play Pot of Desires, he gains 1,000. If you play no, Necro Face doesn't work well, but you get the drift. He's a really good card. He's uber strong, and he's just so hard to work with once he gets out there and starts doing his thing. A new add-on, and Konami, what were you thinking when you made this card a common? I run 2 Pancreatops, and a lot more for pesky little back rows. You know, you can, as long as your opponent has a monster and you don't, you can special summon it, pop that back row. You know, here's the scenario. Your opponent's got a monster that's, 2,000 attack. You special summon Pancreatops, you pop that pesky back row, you drop that Pot of Desires, you mill your 10, you draw your 2, you special summon that Eater, and then you drop a Gren Maju on him, and that's how Gren Maju's got into the OTK status. You know, but Pancreatops really good because he doesn't. And the funnier thing about Pancreatops that I realized is he can do it in the middle of battle. He can activate his effect anytime. He can activate his opponent on your opponent's turn. Say something goes out there that you really don't want to see out there, activate panic drop, boom, pop, done. You know, it's a really great card. Like I said, Konami, what were you thinking of making in the common? I understand OTS packs need fodder, but you know, that's going to be an expensive piece of fodder as a super. But the nice thing is, guys, remember this. I know rarity is a big thing with everybody. The common works the same as the super, that works the same as the secret, that works the same as the ultimate. You can get my drift. But that does it for the monster lineup. It's a pretty steadfast monster lineup. Banishing Theme, Potted Desires, great card. And the funny thing is, I believe, and this actually did happen once, I played Potted Desires, somebody ashed it. Now ash uses the word negate. And negate means make it as it never happened. So you still banish the 10, and you draw 2, but you don't get the draw. So I had a second Potted Desires in my hand, and I ended up activating it in the same turn. Was I wrong? I don't know. But I believe, because negate means to make as if it never happened, he negated it the first time, so the second time went through. But Potted Desires, banishing 10. That means your Gren Maju is 4,000. Another interesting thing, and I'd be at fault to say that if I didn't mention it, Emmanuel's sick little mind came up with the idea of setting Gren Maju when he's like 12,000 attack and defense. It works. It's funny as hell to watch somebody run into a 12,000 attack power defense power monster. It's really fun. Keeping with the banishing theme, Gold Sark is a banish card for 2 turns. Of course, I tend to use it to banish Necroface. It's an insight card. You play Gold Sark, you banish your Necroface, turn 1, and then you get to see what your opponent's playing. This deck, I'd have no hesitations about going first with. I like going first with this deck because it's just so good. It is just so good at going first. You know, you set yourself up with plays. I mean, and it just so happens, just remember you banish 2 Necrofaces in the same turn. That's 10 cards, you're both out, and you get your Necrofaces back. So if you're not getting to what you need, you can always summon Necroface, put it all back in the deck, and start the whole wonderful process over again. Of course, opponent will probably try to flip the table, but that's okay. One thing my previous build was lacking was getting those life points back, and I had to go through a box and a half of cards, but I found 2 Soul Absorptions. Soul Absorption will give you 500 life points per banished card. So just think about that. You banish 15 for Eaters or Millions with that on the field, you're gaining 7,500 life points. I've done screenshots and sent them to Emmanuel just for shits and giggles of me having 34,000 life points. You know, and it's ridiculous. You get one of them out there, that's good. You get both of them out there, it's even better. Because now their Twin Twisters or their MSTs or their Dust Tornadoes or their Heavy Storm Dusters have too many targets to target. You have more targets that they want to get rid of than you know they want to deal with. Another add-on card that I found in one of my old binders, Potted Duality. Potted Duality I use as a space filler. You get that hand, but that's a, let's say you've got your Eater Millions out there, you got the Potted Desires in hand, you play Potted Duality, and you Duality at Maju. It's a space filler. You know, you go for the OTK, you want to go for the OTK, but you just don't have what it takes. Or your opponent has that pesky back row card that you don't want to have to worry about. Galaxy, another card I started running was Galaxy Cyclone. Banish, you know, pay 1,000 life points and banish. It's a great card. Duality really does its job here. I run a series of 1/4s in Regeki and Dark Hole. Obviously, board wipes to keep my opponent honest, and you know, not to let him get too crazy while I'm trying to get crazy. You know, I run that 1 day apiece. 1 day apiece is a great card because you don't take any damage until your opponent's next battle phase. You know, you can lose a monster, but you know what? You take no damage for it, so it's amazing. And I also run the 1/4D Fissure, banish all monsters. You know, they get destroyed or sent to the graveyard. People play Foolish Burial with that on the field. Well, I can say it. You're foolish. because your monster's not going to the graveyard. You know, Dragon Shrine's the same story. Second verse same as the first. And like I said, I am also running 2 Galaxy Cyclones in this build because of that, you know, potential back row issue, or that field spell that's really annoying and you need to get rid of. You know, playing against railroad cars or whatever that deck is. They get that switch yard up there. You don't want them to have it. Just get rid of it and banish it out of play. And that does it for the spell card lineup. You know, pretty spell heavy compared to the monsters. Of course, you talk traps, you gotta talk Macrocosmos. Macrocosmos is D-Fissure on steroids because not only monsters get banished, everything gets banished. And it's great. You know, the opponent gives you a kaiju. You know, can't get rid of your marshmallow. He dumps the marshmallow, he banishes it, he gives you a turtle. You know, yeah, that's fine, but you know what? His monsters are getting banished too. Bottom line. Bottomless trap hole. And if I may go back, gotta be careful with Macrocosmos because it does have that special summon effect on it. That someone can actually solemn warning or strike that, and you will lose Macrocosmos. So that's something to be aware of playing the Macrocosmos build. But honestly, I have not seen a lot of the solemn cards out there lately, guys. This meta, I don't see a lot of solemn judgment, solemn warning, solemn strikes, scolding, vice versa. None of it. I haven't seen a lot of it personally. I spent a lot of time on Nexus. I still run 3 bottomless trap holes just because bottomlessing somebody's monster, it's a player interruption thing. You interrupt people's plays, they go to link, summon, and you bottomless it, and you just get rid of it. And you know, you Cyber Dragons, they go into Cybernova, activate that bottomless before they bring out the Infinity. They get upset, trust me. They get really upset. Another card I'm running, I added it in. I run 2 Reckless Grades because I need some sort of draw engine. You know, a lot of the times they end up out of play with the activation of a Necroface, or they end up out there with Desires. But the draw engine, the Reckless Grade is good fill-in because and I'm only running 2 because a lot of the times I've noticed I see both of them at the same time, so I'll pop both of them and still have to wait 2 turns while drawing 4 cards. But there's enough of an engine in here to do that. And the last cards quickly becoming my favorites is Memory of an Adversary. Memory of an Adversary is an old card. A lot of the newer subscribers are going to have to go back and say, what? And have to actually look this card up in the Yugi logs. But this card, honestly, it never made big time plays, but it's something I started playing off of a suggestion of a friend who got it from the suggestion of another friend. And honestly, I've loved the card, and in this deck it really does work, and especially in the days of things like Boral Sword Dragon that can't be destroyed. You know, and he can do a second attack, and he can OTK you, and he can game you, and guess what? He attacks that first time, you activate Memory of an Adversary, and I've been told more than once that this card seems really unfair. I don't see what's unfair about it. You take 3k to the face, and that card gets banished. Boral Sword will go bye-bye. And at the end of your opponent's next turn, Boral Sword is now yours. I mean, if there's ever someone to hype a card, if there was ever any reason to say to run this card, it is ridiculous what this card will do to somebody. I've stolen people's Beals, I've stolen Crystal Wings, I've stolen Clear Wings, okay, maybe I should change my nickname to Steal My Shit. Steal Your Shit, because that's what I do. And that's what Memory of an Adversary does. It will make your opponent make a really big monster. Play a Cybers player who goes right for Boral Sword and do that to him turn 2. Steal their Boral Sword, meanwhile all their stuff is out of play and you've got their Boral Sword. It's ridiculous, guys. As for extra decks, I'm not going to say in this deck it is necessary, and I'm working on an extra deck. Right now, basically, my extra deck is there to bring out Eater. You know, so I'm not going to take up time in the tape to show you basically my Chaos Dragon extra deck that I use for this as well, because it's just ridiculous. I don't use my extra deck as much as I'd like to, which is really good against the Monarch deck, because they'll play their field spell and you'll just sit there and say, okay, that's fine, I don't use my extra deck anyway. So when they find out you're playing Banish, they tend to get mad. But my side deck is a work in progress. It's an ever-changing thing. I start off with 3 calls to the graves because, yeah, I like banishing my stuff to get my monster big. But the graveyard is such a what's the word for it? It's a necessity in this format. So I still run 3 call by the graves, and I think Konami did the right thing bringing it back to 3. There was really never any reason for it to get limited or semi-limited or whatever it was. In a machine-heavy world, I run 2 system downs. I would run 3 if I had a third, but I don't. I know I gotta try to figure out which structure deck has them, but system down is great, especially with ABCs getting their big assault core back. You know, and the neat thing is, you know, it banishes. It also, you pay that 1,000 life points and you banish all machines from the graveyard in the field. It's really good. Say Soul Absorption. Say they have 3 of their ABCs out there on the field. Banish all 3 of those. You gain 1,500 life points. It's great. Great card. Great. Another one of those finds you find in the commons box in your kids' room. I run 3 soul releases for right now because opponent's graveyard is important, and you never seen Lightsworn player get upset when you banish 2 of their snows. You know, it's a really great card. I'm running 1 right now, Closed Forest. I would love to find 2 more. That I did not find in my kid's box. Closed Forest is great because it says, and everything relying on field spells nowadays. You ever see a Trickstar player try to play without playing Light Stage? What are they? You ever try to play the deck without playing Diagram? You ever play Dark World without playing Gates? It's hard. It's hard. I would love to get another one. For the Paleo player, of course, you gotta include Paleo, and you gotta play it. You gotta include Altergeist as well. That's their enemy. Denko Seika. Your opponent sets 5 and tells you to go. You drop a Denko Seika, they get mad. And honestly, I haven't seen Altergeist actually produce a monster big enough to get over Denko, which is, you know, really good to do, because you can sit there and do all your stuff and activate all your stuff. But I run a 3rd Pancreatops in my extra deck, in the side deck rather, just because Pancreatops is that good. You know, it's nice to have that extra 3rd. And then in this set, I'm actually thinking if I get my Closed Forest, this guy will take a vacation, but for now he's in there. Dimensional Alchemist. He's really great. He can banish a card, and if he gets destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you get to add that monster card back to your hand. It's got to be a monster. I gotta say that. And that's probably why he got relegated from the main deck to the side deck. But guys, that's the build. That's Gren Maju OTK. You know, it's a fun deck, and we have a regional coming up here in North Carolina. I believe it's in April, and this is what I'm working on for that regional. I'm planning on playing it, and that means if you're going to the regional in North Carolina that weekend of April, you'll probably see this deck there. I will say it. It's a good deck, it's a fun deck, it's a solid deck, and honestly, this build, it is a much more consistent deck. And this is Rob from Team DBZ Biscuit, and I'm out of here.